All right, welcome to the training on the structure of a call, LPMAMA. So I want to kind of set the stage here for you. Whoops. As people are making all kinds of mess here, as people are joining the webinar here, I want to set the stage for you with what we're going to be talking about. This is all about having some sort of structure to the way you're approaching buyer leads. Okay, so Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, which I don't know if I'm personally a big fan of him, but he talks about something called the straight line persuasion. And it's a straight line sales method. It's the idea that, when you get a lead or an opportunity and the goal is to sell them something, which in our case is to sell an appointment, we want to meet with them, then so the goal here at the end is the appointment. There's one quickest and fastest way to get there and kind of avoid getting off track. And so what so many salespeople do, according to him, is they get way off track. And some of them come back and then they get way off track down here and they talk about the weather, or they talk about hobbies or whatever. Which there's one thing to building rapport with someone, but there's a whole nother thing to getting way off track and then totally missing the appointment. You ever had a call like that where you think it's going great and you're talking to somebody about whatever, and then the next thing you know they say, oh yeah, great talking to you, I gotta run, can't talk anymore, and now we never set the appointment, right? A lot of times it's because we get off track. We have no structure to follow. We have no line to reference. How do we know if we're on or off track towards setting an appointment if we don't have a very clear path to follow? And that's what I'm going to teach you today, is the structure of what your call should look like. It's not a script, because I think each one of you need to do your own thing here, but you need to understand what's the fastest way to get to an appointment? What's the most effective way to get to an appointment? What should that structure look like? And that way, if you do get off track, let's say this is your call and you start wandering, you can very quickly recognize it and get back on track. You start wandering, get back on track, start wandering, get back on track, and end up with that appointment set, which is the whole goal with your efforts with talking to people. And this could be whether it's in person, over the phone, it doesn't really matter. You could be at a party talking to somebody and still follow the structure. It's just a conversation, but it's a structured conversation. So let's talk about it. Here's how we describe this structure. It is called, or here's what we name it. It's called LPMAMA. So very simply, LPMAMA. That's it. That's all you have to remember when you're using this structure. And so let's talk about what each one of these means. Number one is location, right? That's the first part of the straight line, is you want to talk about location with the person. Where are they moving and why? Where are they? What neighborhoods do they want to be in? What cities, areas, whatever it is for where you live, what's their preferred location and why? Number two is price. We want to talk about the price that they're looking to buy in. Number three, and probably the most important one in my opinion, is their motivation. Why, when and why are they moving? Right? When and why. And I always put a little star next to that because I think that's super important. When and why are they moving? All right. Then the fourth one is, are they working with an agent? Are they working with an agent? How are they shopping? We're going to talk about that, but that's the fourth one. And then we have whether or not they've been approved for a mortgage, or will they be paying cash? And the final one is closing for an appointment, a time to meet. So we're going to talk about each one of these steps, but that is LPMAMA. Location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment. That is your straight line, right? From getting the lead to setting the appointment. That's your straight line. If you're going down that line and you're not talking about location, you're off track. You get back to location. If you're not talking about price, you can get back on track and talk about price. If you're not talking about motivation, you can get back to motivation, right? So now you've got a structure to follow and try to stay as close to that line as possible, all to the point where, up to the point where you set an appointment. So let's jump into, and get the caps on my markers here quick. And then let's jump right into the structure of this call. So I'm going to share my screen with you here in a moment. Let's see. Give me one moment here. Okay, here we go. And we will share this. So here is the script. You should have one of these. If not, ask your team leader to give this to you. I have shared this with them. But this is the structure of a call for a buyer's agent. Location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment, right? There's the straight line. Now, we have some example conversation pieces for your questions. So we're going to just walk through this and maybe even role play it a little bit so you can kind of hear what it might sound like on a phone call with a buyer lead. So again, the first thing is location. Where do they want to live, right? So an example might be the home you just called on is located in the Rochester area. Is that the only area you're looking to buy in? Great. What other areas are you looking to purchase? Why? What's significant about that area? So you're just going to ask questions about where they want to live. The second thing is price, right? So that's awesome that you want to live in the Rochester area and the surrounding towns. The home you called about, or the search criteria that it looks like you entered on our website, is blank. So is that really the price range you're looking to buy in? What other ranges would you be comfortable in? What is the price range you'd be comfortable in? Why? How'd you come to that conclusion? What's important about that price for you? Have you looked at the monthly mortgage payment on what that would be? So just trying to get an understanding of what price and why are they telling you they're looking in. Number one, to find out if they even have thought about it and if they're a qualified buyer or not. If somebody says, yeah, I don't know, I'd do, I'm wide open, I have no price range. Well, it tells you they haven't really given this a lot of thought yet. And maybe they're early on in their process. So you're starting to qualify them through these questions, right? Motivation. When can they move in? When and why? Why are they moving and what's their time frame? So you might want to ask if they currently rent or own a home. That's a very important factor in determining when and why they're moving. Another great question just is simply asking, very simply, oh great, how soon do you want to be in your new home? Well, is that when you want to close on your new home, or purchase your new home, make an offer, or is that when you want to actually be moving in? Why then? Do you own or do you rent? If you rent, is it month to month or in a long-term lease? So you got all these questions you can ask around when they can move in, and you just do it in a conversational way. But now we know so far their location, the price range, and their motivation. And it's all just been a friendly conversation like I was having with a friendly service representative on the phone with any company I would call, right? Have you ever had a call like that where you talk to your, I don't know, the cable company is probably not a great example, but I feel like I had one recently where I was having trouble with my internet and I called in, and the lady was the nicest lady ever. And she just asked me questions. And to this day, I don't know if she had any reason to ask me questions or if she was just really nice. She could have had a structure to her call and I would have never known, because she just was friendly and asked me questions about myself. And that's all we're doing here, right? Vision yourself as a service representative, there to serve people, but you're curious about them. People love to talk about themselves and their plans, especially if they're the kind of people you want to work with, right? If they're just a jerk and they don't want to answer your questions, then just move on. But most people will talk. The fourth step is we need to determine if they are working with an agent or not. There's a lot of ways you can do this. You can ask questions like, so how long have you been looking for a home? Have you seen the inside of any homes? Great. Are you going to open houses? Or is an agent showing you properties? How have you been finding homes? That's all you're trying to do, is figure out if they've talked to or worked with an agent. If they indicate to you through their answers that they're working with an agent or have seen homes with an agent, this is the point where, at least in Minnesota, my home state, we had an obligation to ask if they've signed a representation agreement. And so we would. You may not have to do that where you're from, I'm not sure, but we would ask, have you signed an agreement with that agent? Or are you working with them exclusively? Right? I usually don't want to go to that question until I have to, because it can scare buyers away. So I might ask instead questions like, great, have you seen the inside of any homes already? Or are you just looking online? Because if they say I've seen the inside, I'd say, oh, great, was that a for sale by owner, or was it a listed home that you saw with an agent? Oh, cool, great. How did it go? Did you like the home? Right? I might kind of defer a little bit from the main question, which is have they signed an agreement? So it doesn't sound like I'm interrogating them. But the whole goal here is to find out if they've signed an agreement with another agent. Over time, you'll get better at coming up with your own questions. But just know that your goal here is to make sure that they are not disqualified from meeting with you because they've signed an agreement with someone. I will say that buyers are liars, right? And so they will tell you that they're working with an agent when in reality, they've only seen one home with some guy they met at an open house or gal, and they've not signed anything. So just because they say they're working with an agent, you may want to follow up with, oh, great, so you have signed an agreement with them. Most buyers won't lie if you ask a direct question like that, but they, if you're vague about it, they will. And so I would ask directly at that point if they've signed an agreement. Another way that you can find that out is saying, okay, great, so you saw a home with another agent. If I had a home that was coming to the market that no one else knew about, would you want to make me aware of that, or would I need to, or would you not be interested in knowing about that home? Right? That kind of starts to get an idea of if they are working only with their agent or if they're open to working with other agents as well. So that's something you can ask as well. But either way, find out if they've signed an agreement, because you don't want to move forward if they do. So at this point, let me just stop this share. At this point, if we go back to our simple whiteboard here with the LPMAMA on it, at this point, we are right here. And I want you to visualize a line there. We do not want to move forward to the next two steps if we've determined they're not qualified. So this is a decision point. Am I moving forward after this point, or am I not? If they have no motivation, if they already are signing an agreement with an agent, whatever it might be, I would hesitate to move forward to the next couple of steps. But let's just say they're highly motivated, they're a great lead, and it's worth closing for an appointment. We want to do that. But there's one more thing we want to do before we close for the appointment. That's the second M in LPMAMA, which stands for mortgage. We want to find out if they're pre-approved yet or not, and if they're going to need a mortgage. So I always just ask the question, so John, or whatever the lead's name is, so John, will you be paying cash, or are you going to need a mortgage? Oh, great. Have you talked to a lender about that? Have you been pre-approved? Have you received a pre-approval letter? Right? Again, you want to be careful with this one, because if you ask this too early on, you're going to scare them off. I've seen buyers, agents, ask this question right away. They'll put mortgage right at the top, and they'll say, hey, thanks for calling on that listing. Here, it's got 4,000 square feet. And they'll start asking, and they'll say, great, I mean, have you been pre-approved for a mortgage yet? Right? And they don't know anything else about them. They've built no rapport through asking questions. That's a mistake. It will scare buyers off. So you want to do this towards the end, but you want to do it before you set an appointment with them, because the last thing you want to do is set an appointment with somebody who's not pre-approved. Right? So are you going to be paying cash, John, for property, or are you going to need a mortgage as well? And by the way, this is another point where you can find out if they have to sell, if they have a home that they need to sell first. First of all, if they even own a home, and if they need to sell that before they buy, if we haven't already determined that. And if they need to sell their home, this might be just an opportunity to shift to a listing appointment. You don't want to abandon their questions about buying a home because they may get frustrated by you not answering their questions about buying or about a listing. But you might want to shift slowly into setting a listing appointment, or both, a buyer and listing appointment. But will you be paying cash, or are you going to need a mortgage? And then the final step is closing for the appointment. There's a few different ways you can do this. I like to keep it real simple, and I just say, hey, John, based on what you're telling me, here's what I think we do. A lot of buyers I've found have had much less frustration if they meet with us at our office, go through this process, and then get set up with our VIP listing service. Have you heard of our VIP listings or our VIP listing service? Most people, of course, will say no. We called it our home hunter service, but you don't want to tell them too much. You just want to say, hey, here's what I think we do, John. Let's meet together and I can set you up with our VIP home hunter service, right? Make it sound like, well, what is that? Tell me more. You want them to ask you what this is so that they're now inviting you to tell them that they need to meet with you, right? Well, John would say, well, I mean, what is that? I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, great. Yeah. Well, our VIP home hunter service is a way for you to avoid the frustration you've had by searching online and calling on listings that are already sold. I'm going to set you up with coming soon listings that nobody else even knows about, our MLS automatic search to where any home that gets listed by any agency, you're going to know about immediately, like literally the moment the agent hits enter by entering it into the MLS. And you're going to have access to bank-owned homes, pre-foreclosure, all of the different properties that you could possibly get access to. Like I said, including those that aren't even on the market yet. Would that be helpful? Right? If he's a motivated buyer, he's going to say yes. He's going to forget about the house that he's standing in front of if he's a yard sign lead, or he's going to forget about the open house you met him at, or he's going to forget about this website he's on searching for homes that you got his info from. He's going to say, well, yeah, I want that. Because you spent time building rapport with him, you've made sure he's qualified by asking all these questions and worth meeting with, and now you've offered something of value to him. Now, some buyers may be like, I don't want to meet with an agent, because to me that means commitment. And they might not tell you that, but there's like, I'm not ready to meet with an agent. You could say, oh, well, I'm not talking about committing to working with me. I'm just talking about a better way to shop for homes. Would that be helpful? There's no cost and no obligation. Because your goal here is just to set the appointment with them. And that's it. Once you get on the appointment, your goal will be to convince them to work with you. And you're going to do that through your presentation and offer a no obligation, risk-free way to work with you. But that's not what you're talking about on this call. All you're talking about is a better way to shop for real estate. So that's the structure of a call. If you start using this, you will feel better because you're not scripted. You will have more natural conversations with buyers, and you won't be meeting with people who aren't qualified, which is the last thing you want to do as an agent. You're too busy to be meeting with people who you don't know about prior to the appointment. The last thing you want to do is go on an appointment and then you find out what their price, terms, and motivation is. You have to figure that out ahead of time and do it in a structured way. So that's all we got for today's webinar. I hope that was helpful. Thanks for all of those I see on here that have joined and are working, who are learning from us on these webinars. If you have any other questions, reach out. Happy to help. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.